Hey everybody, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another Fantasy Friday, which is what I'm gonna call it now, where we are planning yet another fantasy Disney World trip. And this time we are planning for Nicole, a single mom with 2 little boys. And I can't wait to share with you what we came up with. So in case you're new, I will bring you up to speed. A few weeks back, actually now a couple months back, I started doing these fantasy Disney World planning episodes here on my channel. I really was feeling like I was missing Disney. I couldn't really go to Disney, and planning trips is really a huge part of the fun for me, as I know it is for many of you. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be watching my channel. And it was just a great escape for me, and it was super, super fun. So then I thought, you know what I want to do? I want to bring you guys into that. So I did a giveaway where you all commented your scenario that I could help you plan, and Nicole Herman's was our winner. Now, Nicole won a beautiful Dooney and Burke bag. You can go watch that video if you want, and that bag is actually on the way to her house. Nicole, let me know when you get it. And her scenario for her trip is as follows, and I'm cutting straight to the chase because we have a lot to talk about, and you're busy and you got stuff to do. You still might want to get a cup of tea or something because this may take me a minute. I'm not known for being super succinct. I do try. Anywho, Nicole's scenario is 2 little boys. She's a single mom, so herself and 2 little boys, ages 5 and 3. She does have a pretty healthy budget of $5,000. And she's a foodie, and she would like to enjoy this vacation for herself as well as enjoying it with her boys. And you know, I can only imagine as a single mom, especially with everything that's been going on, Nicole is ready for a vacation. So I was very excited to sit down and put pen to paper and start planning this for her. Well, I had company while I was planning, and as Scott does tend to do, he, as they say, stuck his oar in, and he had very strong opinions about what Nicole and the boys should do. Now, I started off saying, we should probably have them do a moderate. I mean, we discussed the cabins for a while, but the problem with the cabins is it's kind of tough to get around unless you have a golf cart. And then I was trying to imagine when my boys were 5 and 3, trying to manage that whole scenario on my own didn't seem fun. Then I was thinking maybe something on the Skyliner because for transportation, and Scott basically just shut me down. He was adamant. Nicole, he was very concerned about you. Like, he was all into all the details of the stroller situation. He's like, she's going to have a double stroller. I don't want her to have to be on buses. I don't want her to have to be schlepping on different forms of transportation, because even with the Skyliner, depending on where you're going, there's quite a bit of getting off and getting back on. And Scott has decided, Nicole, that where we need to spend the bulk of our money for you is on your accommodations. And we actually priced out your trip for you. And it's right there at the hairy edge of the budget, but I think if we can get a discount where I'm gonna share, I think you should stay. This vacation actually could work with the $5,000 that we have available to us. So, drum roll please. Where we decided you all should stay is in a garden wing room at the Contemporary. Now, before you guys click off and you're like, are you kidding? She's gonna spend a fortune on her room. First of all, the garden wing rooms at the Contemporary can be a really good value, and we have stayed in them not once, not twice, but 3 times with our boys. And I will hear people say that the garden wing rooms are just so far away from, you know, the main building and from the dining options and all that. Y'all, they're really not. I mean, the first time we stayed in a garden wing room at the Contemporary, I think the twins were 6 and Jack was 9. So everybody was out of a stroller, walking by their own feet, and we had absolutely no issues with anything being too far away. Now, contrast that with the boardwalk and some of those hallways. Oh my gosh. I mean, I think you walk a 10K just getting to your room when you're at the boardwalk. So really and truly, it's not bad. Now, would I love to see her be even in a theme park view in the tower? Of course, right? Like that would be fantastic. But I will tell you, having been the budget-minded person that I was, that garden wing room to me is one of the best values on Disney property because you're getting all of the amenities of one of the monorail resorts, including the most important thing about staying at the Contemporary that I'm going to talk about in just a minute. But you're not paying quite that premium. Now, when I worked this out on the Disney World website, the room portion, I believe, was $427 a night. And then I went ahead and factored in tickets for a 5-night stay and 4 days of park tickets. And our package worked out to just about $4,100. Now, I realize that with a budget of $5,000, that $4,100 for accommodations and tickets does not leave us any wiggle room. Nicole didn't actually say how they were getting to Walt Disney World. So if they're flying and I have to factor in airfare, obviously this entire scenario kind of crumbles, but I'm hoping that maybe she lives somewhere close where she can drive. In my brain, maybe somebody she loves has Sky Miles that they can gift her so that she can get these kids out to Orlando. So the thing about the Contemporary when you have littles is the walkway to the Magic Kingdom. 6 little words that will change your life. And I just want to say, even as a grown-up, having that walkway to and from the Magic Kingdom, game changer. Now, with the new walkway that goes in between the Magic Kingdom and the Grand Floridian, in theory, all of the monorail resorts are walkable, although it would be quite a trek if you were walking, say, from the Polynesian all the way around. But having the monorail as an option to get to Magic Kingdom, having the monorail as an option to get to Epcot, once I think that's running again, but whatever, it will be by the time you go, Nicole. It really does make for, in my experience, a much less stressful vacation if Magic Kingdom is going to be the main place that you're going to stay. Now, I realize that leaves us very little money for food. And what I would really encourage you to do, especially because I know when you're traveling by yourself, and those of you that haven't traveled with little kids by yourself may not really understand the depths of complication. I first started traveling with the boys by myself, all 3 boys, when they were very young, because for a while there, I wasn't working. Scott didn't have very much vacation. So I would go visit my parents by myself, or I would take them on short trips. As they got older, it got a little bit easier. And I actually did quite a few trips with the boys by myself once they were like early elementary age. So the stress of just getting everybody to and from as a parent who's operating alone is not to be underestimated. It is a very big deal. And I love what Scott said. He said, at all cost, I want to keep her off buses. So obviously we don't have room for a car rental in that budget. That's why in my brain, I'm kind of hoping that you live somewhere close and you could potentially drive so that you would have your own vehicle. But even if you do have to take buses, I'm making an assumption that at the ages that your kids are, Magic Kingdom is really going to be the main place that we're going to want to go. And that brings me to another detail of your trip, and that is I really want you to consider not trying to do all 4 parks. And you know, this is one of those things that I think parents sometimes forget they have the freedom to do, especially if they have really little kids that, quite frankly, unless they're really fixated on something at all 4 parks, aren't really gonna know if you skip something. So depending on what your boys are really into, I'm gonna ask that you decide which of the 4 parks you would be okay with skipping. I just think it will really lower your stress level. It will give you a lot more margin in your days. Again, when you've got little kids and you're trying to manage by yourself, you wanna make sure that there is plenty of room to flex whenever need be. And I'm feeling like if it were my boys, I would probably try to just focus on maybe Magic Kingdom, and then depending on their interests, maybe Hollywood Studios or Animal Kingdom. And then Epcot, because Mom, for you, the foodie, I want to make sure that you're able to take advantage of all of the wonderful food that you can get at Epcot. Now, I'm assuming that with a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, even though you do love food, you probably don't want to sit at like a 2-hour meal, because that seems like a prescription for disaster to me. So one of the reasons I want to make sure you allow plenty of time at Epcot is because if there's a festival going on, you had said January or February, and Festival of the Arts should be going on in February. That would give you the opportunity to kind of stroll around Epcot, literally with a stroller, and do food booths, which is such a great way for a mom who's a foodie to get little bites of really high-end gourmet food without investing 2 hours and all of that time in a really long, drawn-out meal. I think the boys would really enjoy that, as far as, just the things that there are to look at and all of that. And it would kind of give you that blend of the focus of what we know they're going to want, which is probably going to be, location, 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 Magic Kingdom, Magic Kingdom, Magic Kingdom, right? Especially little kids. Everything is all about what they've seen on TV. They want to see Mickey Mouse. What I wasn't sure of is if your boys were more into Star Wars or if they were more into animals, because that's how I would decide between Hollywood Studios or Animal Kingdom. And this pains me to say this, and some of you might be just cringing right now, but if they're not really into Star Wars, then Animal Kingdom might be a better choice. I just think it's a lot more relaxed. It's less frenetic, if that's a word I can use. And there's really, in my opinion, much more for a 5 and a 3-year-old to do an experience at Animal Kingdom than there is at Hollywood Studios. So that's probably the choice that I would make. But your 5-year-old especially, if he is like a dyed-in-the-wool Star Wars fan, then obviously we need to make Hollywood Studios a priority for him. Now, the other thing I want to make sure you do on this trip, and I may not go through like a day-by-day itinerary, we're not going to park hop. So really, I just want you to focus on one park per day. And I really want you to leave plenty of time to enjoy your resort. One of the reasons that we wanted you at the Contemporary is because you have so many options for recreation that have nothing to do with theme parks. Recreation that I feel like for boys that age gives them a little bit more stretch room. They can dig in the sand at the beach, which my boys always loved. Of course, you could always just take the boats just for fun. You don't actually have to be going to any of the destinations. You can just hop on a boat. I know my boys at 5 and 3 would go crazy for that. And to me, you want to really limit that crowded theme park time when you're on your own and your kids are that age. Slowing things down and allowing plenty of margin is one of those things that I feel like people tend to miss so much of the time when they plan a Walt Disney World vacation. And I think in your situation especially, I'm just picturing how hard you work in your daily life. For you to be able to really have this time to unwind could be so important. Now, one option we did talk through, which is a little bit of extra stress, was that if you wanted to cut down on that budget, you could do just 4 nights at the Contemporary and maybe your arrival night stay like at Pop Century. Since on your arrival day, you're not likely to want to go into a theme park anyway, just because I know how stressed out kids can be. Pop Century is such a fun resort for kids. There are so many fun things to look at. You could go for a swim in the pool on arrival day. I have so many friends that use this as a great budget saving measure, either because they're DVC, and if y'all don't know, if you belong to Disney Vacation Club, Friday and Saturday night are way more points than Sunday through Thursday. So a lot of us will arrive a day early or stay a day late, and we'll resort hop and we'll stay somewhere far less expensive or even stay off site. And that enables us to save those points. But the same thing would work if you're wanting to stay in a higher end hotel, but maybe the budget won't stretch quite as far as you want it to. So with our food budget, I don't know what your boys' habits are, but because we're so tight on the budget, because I've made you spend so much money on your accommodations, but please trust me, I really do think it will be worth it for you. We're going to go ahead and have breakfast in the room. So we're going to have grocery delivery. The Contemporary, of course, has refrigerators. We're going to bring our own snacks. We're going to make sure that as much as possible, we're going to keep that budget intact. Now, the good news is at 5 and 3, obviously kids' meals are going to be a very big thing for your kids. So we want to make sure that, they're going to have plenty to eat. The other thing I loved about, because I know that you're a foodie, Nicole, the monorail area resorts, even if you just went to the food courts, right? Like even if you are just hopping over to the Polynesian and you're going to go to Captain Cook's, their food court has really, really good food. And also all of the restaurants are doing takeout now. I just feel like being in that monorail resort area gives you not only your own resort to relax and enjoy, but also the Grand Floridian and the Polynesian. And if you take the boat over, also Fort Wilderness and Wilderness Lodge. And the boys, I mean, taking them to go visit the horses at Fort Wilderness, showing them the beach there, all of that fun stuff, all of that is free, or as Scott would say, included. So that really would give you and the boys such a varied experience. It wouldn't just be, waking up early and waiting in lines and being in crowds. You'd actually get more of the whole resort experience of Disney World. And as a single mom with little kids, I just can't imagine anything more magical than that. And especially because let's hope that by the time you go, fireworks and things are back in session, as they would say. So you'll be able to watch the fireworks right there from your resort, or you could go over to the Poly Beach and watch the fireworks. Just kind of expanding your view of what does it mean to go to Walt Disney World. And I really do feel that so many families don't take advantage of the resorts that they stay in. Now, I'm going to want you to be very careful about things like when you're packing, because again, you're going to be a mom by yourself. So I want to make sure you think about stuff. And I'm saying this because these are things that I didn't think about until I started traveling with my boys on my own. How maneuverable is your luggage situation? Do both the boys have an age-appropriate, size-appropriate backpack that they can carry on their own? Is your roller bag operational? These are things I would want to make sure you do a little bit of a dry run before you leave, because I have been in an airport with young kids by myself and realized that the luggage situation was, shall we say, not sustainable. And it made me very, very cranky, and it did not make for a very fun vacation. Scott and I had so much fun planning this trip for you. Expectations need to be set very appropriately. Pace needs to be set very appropriately. We really need to remember that little boys sometimes don't make it from point A to point B in a straight line, and you don't want to spend your entire vacation yelling at them. So as much as possible, we want things to be, I don't know what the word would be, free range. Let's try to make this a free range vacation for Nicole and for her two little boys. All right. I hope that was fun. I hope that was helpful. I realize not the most budget friendly trip. I realize there's probably no way to do everything that we said without going a little bit over budget. But even if you cut it down to a shorter trip, I just think it would make for a lovely vacation for all of you. All right. Next thing. I have picked our next scenario for our next video. Now, what I don't know is if I'm going to do this next week or the week after, because there are a few other videos that I want to do. So you'll just have to wait and see if you're happily surprised. But I picked, and this was from the original video, Donna C. And this one, y'all, is a doozy. Hi, Jen, my WDW fantasy scenario. Okay, y'all ready? This one made me break out in a sweat, but it's gonna be fine. It'll be fine. We can do this. Would be a multi-generational trip with my mother-in-law, husband, and his sister's family, which includes her husband and two preteen boys. Of this group, only my husband and myself have ever been to Disney. Mother-in-law would most likely need a scooter. Brother-in-law does not like theme parks and crowds. I imagine we'd have to go in the summer to accommodate school schedules. Our budget would most likely be low-end luxury, as mother-in-law likes to splurge on family. Okay, I like the sound of that. Would love to hear your ideas on what resort room categories would be best for our family group to be together, but not on top of each other, and if I'm lucky enough to win that gorgeous bag. Okay, so sorry, we already did the giveaway for the bag. That scenario, you guys, that is a lot going on. And my brain is already ticking along trying to figure out where I would put them. So yeah, we're gonna have to give this one a little bit of thought. You're gonna make me really do some work, Donna C, but I think it's gonna be fun. And so many of you had commented that you had large multi-generational trips. And I think especially, since the Great Unpleasantness, we're all really wanting to do things that we put off. We're all going, you know what? We put this off long enough. It's time. We want to all be together. I have some really good thoughts, and I think planning it is going to be a lot of fun. So Donna, you didn't win the bag, unfortunately, but you did win for me to plan your amazing Walt Disney World multi-generational family trip. So stay tuned for that. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do. Make sure you put on your bell notifications so you don't miss anything. And if you stuck around this far in the video, I can only imagine that you liked it. So please make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Whatever you're doing, I hope you're being really good to each other, and I'll see you next time.